I've always been a meat lover, especially pork. Bacon in the morning, grilled ribs for lunch, a steaming bowl of pork belly stew for dinner. I couldn't get enough. Pork was my life, my comfort, my joy. If anyone asked, I'd joke, if pigs could talk, they'd probably hate me. But I never really thought about it. Not until that day. It started like any other. I headed out to buy fresh pork for dinner. I was walking to the local butcher, already tasting the crispy pork belly I planned to cook. The air was oddly still, no cars, no chatter, just an eerie silence that clung to the streets. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, but I shrugged it off. Maybe it was just a slow day. As I rounded the corner, something heavy smashed into the back of my head. Pain exploded behind my eyes, and the world faded to black. When I woke up, I was in a cage. Iron bars surrounded me, cold and unyielding. Around me, other people were trapped in similar cages, their faces pale and terror-stricken. Some were crying, others murmuring prayers. My head throbbed, and I struggled to piece together what had happened. "What's going on?" I whispered. But no one answered. Then I heard it. Heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate. My heart thudded in my chest as a shadow loomed outside the cage, and then it stepped into the light. It was Peppa Pig, or at least it looked like her, but not the cheerful cartoon character children adored. No, this was a monstrous version, a grotesque parody. Its pink skin was raw and glistening, like slabs of uncooked meat. Its mouth was lined with jagged, razor-sharp teeth.
"Welcome,"
it growled, voice guttural and chilling. It held a clipboard in one clawed hand, scanning the group like a predator choosing its prey.
"Name,"
it demanded from the first person. When they stammered out a reply, the creature consulted its clipboard.
"You've consumed approximately 500 kilograms of pork in your lifetime,"
it said, voice dripping with malice.
"That's roughly 100 kilograms of flesh I'll need in return."
Before the man could respond, Peppa grabbed him and dragged him out of the cage. His screams echoed as he disappeared into the shadows. Peppa led him into a dimly lit room that looked like a slaughterhouse. The metallic stench of blood was overwhelming. Through the bars, I watched as she strapped him to a table. His screams echoed as her cleaver came down. Blood splattered across the walls, pooling beneath the table. I gagged, bile rising in my throat. The next person was taken, then the next. Each time, the creature read out the weight of pork they'd consumed as if it were a sentence, a tally of their sins. And each time, the screams grew louder, more desperate. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. My stomach churned with fear and nausea. Then I heard it again. The wet, sickening thud of a cleaver meeting flesh. Blood sprayed across the walls, dripping down like a grotesque waterfall. Hooks hung from the ceiling, swaying gently with chunks of human meat impaled on them. My turn was coming. I knew it. I began twisting and pulling at the ropes binding my wrists, ignoring the sharp pain as they dug into my skin. My fingers trembled, slick with sweat, but I refused to stop. My experience with tying and untying pork roasts had taught me how to handle knots, and I clung to that skill now like a lifeline. The creature stood before me, flipping through its clipboard. Finally, it stopped and grinned, revealing rows of jagged teeth.
"Huh.
It hissed, its glowing red eyes narrowing.
A pork lover, aren't you? Let's see. 750 kilograms. Quite the appetite.
It turned back toward me, the cleaver gleaming in its hand. But the cage was empty. By the time it realized, I was already free, slipping into the shadows, the ropes I'd finally untied falling silently to the ground behind me.
Get back here!
It roared, its footsteps pounding behind me. The hallway was narrow and slick with blood, making every step treacherous. My breath came in ragged gasps as I ducked and weaved, desperate to escape. I spotted a large cabinet and dove underneath, curling into a ball and holding my breath. The creature stormed into the room, sniffing the air like a bloodhound. Its glowing eyes scanned the space, passing over the cabinet. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying it wouldn't find me. Then she crouched.
Found you!
She snarled, her teeth gleaming. Before she could find me, chaos erupted outside. Shouts, crashing metal, the sounds of people fighting back. Pepper hesitated, her ears twitching at the noise.
Stupid pigs.
It muttered before stomping out to deal with the commotion. I didn't waste a second. Crawling out from under the cabinet, I bolted in the opposite direction, following the faint glow of daylight. My legs burned, and my lungs felt like they'd collapse. But I kept running. That night, I sat in my apartment trembling, unable to close my eyes without seeing its face, hearing the screams. The thought of pork, of bacon, of ribs, it made me sick. I didn't need to think twice. I'll never eat pork again. I know how this sounds. I really do. But before you judge me, just hear me out. I'm not insane. I'm just devoted. Sydney Sweetie isn't just some actress to me. She's a living myth, the last real star in a sea of filters and AI-generated fame. Her smile feels like warmth after frostbite. Her voice lingers in your head hours after an interview ends. She's flawless, but not plastic. She's there, raw and real, just far enough out of reach to keep you dreaming. I never missed a post, a new role, a red carpet look, an interview where she'd push hair behind her ear. I memorized it all. She was my ideal, my muse, my impossible maybe. She made me feel wild. So when I saw the announcement that Sydney had partnered with Dr. Squeech to release a limited edition soap, Bathwater Blizz, made with her actual bathwater, I thought it was a joke, a marketing stunt. But it wasn't. Only 5,000 bars made, limited to one per customer, launching June 6th at 10 a.m. sharp. I prepared like I was buying tickets to heaven. 3 alarms, 2 browsers open, a full cup of coffee and my credit card memorized. It sold out in under 60 seconds. I stared at the screen, disbelief morphing into panic. I'd missed my only chance. No way. I refreshed eBay like a gambler with a hot hand. 10 minutes later, boom, one real listing. Factory sealed, verified, $300. I waited 3 days. Every hour crawled. When it arrived, the box was a soft, aquatic blue, clean and minimalist. Bathwater Blizz, limited edition, was printed in crisp white, centered beneath a silver water droplet that seemed to shimmer faintly, like it was watching me. The moment I cracked it open, the scent hit me like a dream colliding with reality. floral but not fake, creamy but not sugary, something clean, something salty, something alive. The bar was smooth, glossy, almost too perfect to touch. I ran my fingers across it like it might sing. Then I leaned in, slowly, and breathed it in. The world stopped. I saw her. Not in the room, not exactly. Maybe in my head, clear as glass. Sydney, damp hair clinging to her cheeks, water trickling down her face, eyes soft and searching. She didn't smile. She didn't move. She just looked at me. Then she was gone. Just a flash, like sunlight in your eyes. I stumbled back a step, blinking hard. My hand still gripped the soap like a relic. My pulse thumped through my fingertips. She was real. That moment was real. I had to try it. I drew a bath, water hot enough to fog the mirror. I didn't like candles or play music. I wanted silence. I wanted her. The soap lathered with ease, thick and pearlescent, like it melted into me. The scent swelled in the heat, enveloping everything. It was like she was there. Not as a ghost, as a presence, something intelligent, watching. I sat still. My mind drifted. The foam wrapped my arms, clung to my chest, ran between my fingers like silk, and with every pass of the soap, the scent grew deeper, denser. My thoughts unraveled. I wasn't alone. A pressure formed just behind me, gentle but real, like someone brushing past in a crowd. I froze. The water rippled. Breath touched the nape of my neck.
You've wanted this.
Someone whispered. I couldn't speak. My mind was buzzing and numb all at once. I stayed there for a long time. When I finally stood up, my skin tingled. The scent clung to me like a second skin. I pressed the bar to my chest. I couldn't put it down. I didn't dry off. I didn't get dressed. I walked straight to bed, still damp, still holding it. Sleep took me instantly. I woke up in a fog. My sheets were damp. My hands still gripped the soap like I'd clutched it all night. Then came the itch. First on my forearm, then my ribs, my scalp, my thighs. I sat up, confused, scratching, looked down. My skin was covered in small red bumps, raised and inflamed. I stumbled into the bathroom, turned on the light. The bumps moved. I leaned closer. My stomach flipped. On the surface of one, just one, I saw a tiny, perfectly formed face. Delicate cheekbones, full lips, wide eyes, her face. I yelped and staggered back, nearly falling into the tub. But curiosity pulled me forward again. More bumps, more faces. They stared at me, silent. Some smiled, some frowned, some just watched. My heart pounded like a drum. I turned on the faucet and shoved the soap under it, lathering until my skin went raw. But the bumps didn't fade. They pulsed. They multiplied. I rubbed harder. My arms bled. Still they smiled. Then the lights flickered. The mirror fogged without heat. No steam. Just cold breath on glass. And she was there. Sydney. Not a vision. Not a reflection. Something else. She sat in a dark tub, green water rising to her collarbone. Her skin was smooth and wet, but her eyes were wrong. Too wide. too empty. She opened her mouth.
You wanted a part of me. Now I'm taking what's mine.
I blinked. She was closer. The soap slipped from my hand. I couldn't move. Fingertips pressed against my spine. A voice purred into my ear.
Let me clean you. Let me purify you.
I didn't resist. I couldn't. Her hands dragged the soap across my arms, my chest, my face. Her voice lilted with venom.
You bought me like a product, a souvenir. You wore my scent like a second skin. How does it feel? Using a woman's bathwater?
Her voice was soft, but it slithered down my spine like ice.
Do you feel powerful now?
She pressed her fingers into my sores. They burst like blisters, oozing heat and sound, whispers. I heard her memories, casting calls, harsh lights, men's voices, clinical and cruel.
Smile wider. Lose 5 pounds. Don't talk unless you're asked.
And always, you're perfect, you're perfect, you're perfect.
Men like you.
She leaned close, her voice turning bitter, acidic.
You're all the same. Greedy little pigs pretending it's love.
Sydney's nails scraped down my back. My skin peeled like tissue.
You bought a piece of me, and now I own you. You disgusting little thing. Let me scrub you.
I woke up alone, soaked, trembling. The soap was gone, the water drained. My skin, smooth, clean, as if nothing had happened. But the mirror told the truth. I wasn't there, only her, sitting in the tub, smiling, mouthing the word.
Next one.
I never thought there was anything wrong with the way I loved him. While others called it obsession or delusion, I saw it as something pure, devotion. Not just the kind that cheers in crowds or collects photo cards, but the kind that longs to know everything, the kind that wants to get close. Minjae had always been the perfect idol. His voice was soft, his eyes tender, and the way he smiled at his fans made you feel like you mattered. I clung to that illusion, because to me, it was never an illusion. I believed, truly believed, that if I stayed close enough, watched long enough, loved him hard enough, he would see me. The distance between us would dissolve. That's why I became a Sasaeng. Not to hurt him, not to cross some moral line. I only wanted to be someone who knew him better than anyone else. I wanted to slip between the folds of his public life and settle into the spaces where no one else had reached. At the fan meeting, I handed him the gift I made, a soft white teddy bear, stitched carefully by hand. He smiled as he took it from me, eyes crinkling the way they always did when he wanted to seem sincere. I know you collect bears. I made this one myself, just for you. He thanked me, unaware that hidden just beneath the bear's eyes was a small, silent camera, one that would quietly reveal the life I longed to be a part of. After that, I watched him every night. The bear sat neatly on a shelf in his living room, among dozens of others, but mine always faced the center. Through that tiny lens, I saw fragments of his private world. Minjae entering his apartment, setting down his bag, stretching his arms with a tired sigh. He'd hum sometimes, pour a drink, say a few soft words on the phone before slipping into silence again. And I watched, eyes wide, heart full. I would fall asleep to the sound of his voice echoing through my speakers, my dreams warm and filled with the illusion of proximity. Then, one day, a message appeared in the group chat. Minjae was filming out of town and wouldn't return until late. My breath caught. His apartment would be empty for hours. I didn't even hesitate. I had memorized the building's security code from his hand movements, seen through the bear's lens. That night, I stood outside his door, my heart pounding, the hum of the hallway lights buzzing in my ears. I pressed the code. The lock clicked open. The air inside his home was clean. Detergent, citrus, cologne. I stepped in slowly, almost reverently. Everything was exactly as I imagined it. His shoes lined neatly, the soft creak of wood beneath my feet, the faint humming of the fridge. The teddy bear I made was still there, but the others surrounding it looked wrong up close. Their fur wasn't consistent. Some had patches of different colors, stitched together in uneven seams. One had what looked like strands of real hair woven above its ear. A chill touched my spine, but I told myself not to overthink. Everyone has strange habits. What mattered was that my bear was still intact, still watching. I opened the fridge, rearranged his drinks, left a bottle of his favorite yogurt. I touched his coats, pressed my face into his scarves. In the bathroom, I painted our names on the mirror using red lipstick. Yuri plus Minjae, with a little heart drawn beside it. And then I slipped into his bed. The sheets were cool and soft. For a while, I lay there quietly, imagining a version of life where this was normal, where I belonged here. Before I left, I slipped a small hand-stitched doll under the bed, a charm made to bind us together, to make him love me the way I loved him. Then I heard the door open. My breath caught. He wasn't supposed to be home yet, but instead of panic, I felt a strange rush. He was here. I would see him just for a moment, and then I'd go. I crept into the wardrobe and pulled the door almost closed, crouching low behind his clothes. Through the narrow slit, I saw him enter the bedroom. I felt my heart bloom. He liked it. He brought it with him. But then calmly, he reached under his pillow and pulled out a knife. Before I could react, he stabbed the bear, ripped it open. His fingers dug into the stuffing and pulled out the camera. He held it up to the light, studying it. Then he said,
"You're the one who gave me this at the fan meeting, aren't you?"
I froze. He poured himself a glass of wine, swirling it gently, and walked slowly across the room.
"I've always known someone was watching.
He said, eyes glancing toward the wardrobe.
It's a lovely feeling, being desired like that."
He walked straight to the wardrobe and pulled the door open. I didn't even get the chance to scream before everything slipped away, the world fading to black without a sound. When I woke, my arms and legs were bound to a metal chair. The room was cold and dim, the air thick with the stench of rot. I blinked slowly as my vision cleared, and then I saw them. Lining the shelves were teddy bears, but these weren't stitched from fabric. Their patchwork skin was unmistakably human, with strands of real hair still clinging to some of their heads. Blood had dried into the seams. The stitching was crude, careless. In front of me, a glass table held small parts, fingernails, teeth, clumps of hair, scraps of stained fabric. Folders were stacked beside them, each with photos of girls I recognized from online. Other fans like me, all of them missing. And then I heard his voice, soft and close behind me. Minjae stepped into the light, a scalpel glinting in his hand as he smiled gently, almost tenderly. Behind him, the wall was covered in Polaroids, Minjae smiling beside dozens of girls. But their eyes were empty, their faces lifeless. Blood-red hearts were drawn around some of them, crude and dripping. I screamed at him, called him a monster, told him he was fake. He only laughed.
The version of me you adored. That's just a character. Something the company built. But you wanted to know the real me. Isn't that why you watched?
He crouched down beside me and gently touched the cut on the back of my hand. Then slowly, he leaned in and licked the blood. And I finally understood. Minjae was never the one being watched. He wanted to be watched. He craved it. He fed off it. We weren't obsessed with him. He was obsessed with us. And now I was part of his collection. Forever.
I never believed in lasting love. At least, not for me. I believed in momentum, in sparks that ignited fast and burned out just as quickly. Apps like Tinder, they weren't for finding a soulmate. They were playgrounds for pleasure, fleeting and fun. A swipe here, a drink there, a night of passion. No promises, no disappointments. That night I wasn't even looking. I was bored, curious, restless. Then came Mark. He wasn't just attractive, he was curated. Tousled hair, well-cut jawline, eyes that looked like they saw through filters. His bio was maddeningly simple. I cook well. I never rush a meal. And yet it hit something. It felt mature, confident, real. We matched instantly. His first message.
Dinner tonight?
I replied, where and when? By 9:43 p.m, I was on my way to his house outside the city. Mark's place was more than a house. It was a villa, hidden behind high hedges, sleek, modern, and warm with soft lighting. When I stepped inside, the smell of rosemary and smoked meat embraced me. He greeted me in a crisp shirt, sleeves rolled.
Welcome. I hope you're hungry.
A long table waited, adorned with wine, candles, and a small tray of homemade pâté. You made this? I thought he was being dramatic, artsy, maybe a little eccentric. He explained how the pâté was made, from how the liver must be handled to the chilling process. I laughed. He was intense, passionate, but charming. We drank red wine, talked, flirted. After the dinner, Mark showed me his kitchen, meticulously arranged, all top-tier chef equipment, each blade gleaming. Mark was obsessed with knives, artisan blades, carbon steel, perfectly honed. He showed me a custom paring knife from Japan, then whispered like a secret. He said, half joking, "You sound like Gordon Ramsay on a date."
More like Hannibal with manners.
I didn't catch the red flag. I was too busy drinking melting under his gaze. The heat between us grew. Touches lingered. His hands slid along my waist, then lips met lips, and we lost ourselves in the moment. As he trailed kisses along my neck, he whispered, almost breathless,
I'm still hungry, and you look delicious. Do you want to be my dinner tonight?
I giggled, aroused. Of course. I thought it was a kink, a game. Maybe he wanted to carry me to the kitchen table. Maybe he had whipped cream hidden somewhere. His lips pressed more firmly, but something shifted. His grip tightened, not seductive, but possessive. His breath grew shallow. Then I felt it, the unmistakable chill of cold metal, a sharp prick at the base of my skull. I tensed. Not playful, not sexy. He said flatly.
I mean it.
It took me a second to process, then two. His eyes were no longer warm. They were vacant, detached. Mark, what are you doing? His smile remained, but it no longer belonged to a man flirting. Before I could scream, he moved, swift, precise. Something jabbed of my neck, a sudden jolt like a taser. The pain wasn't deep, but it sent a paralyzing shockwave through my spine. My muscles seized, my vision blurred. I collapsed, limbs flailing uselessly, thoughts scattering like marbles across a floor I could no longer feel. Then darkness. I woke up strapped to a table in the center of the sleek, high-end kitchen. My body was numb, my arms and legs splayed and tied down with thick rope that scraped against my skin. The room wasn't cold like a morgue. It was warm, humid, and filled with a nauseating blend of aromas. Bleach, charred meat, fresh herbs, and something unmistakably metallic. To my left, a prep station gleamed with precision tools. Mandolins, mincers, boning knives. On the kitchen island sat a bowl of something marinating. Was it beef? Pork? My stomach twisted. I tried to scream, but my throat was sandpaper dry. My tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. My limbs were bound tightly, thick leather straps cut into my skin, keeping me spread and helpless. Footsteps. Then Mark entered, donning a blood-smeared apron like a chef ready for his shift. There was a shimmer in his eyes. Not joy, not madness, but something twisted in between.
You're awake. Good. The first time should be memorable.
What the hell is this? I rasped, terror making my voice crack.
I always wondered what it would be like.
He said, almost dreamy.
After watching Hannibal, it just clicked. You're perfect. Fresh. Clean. Beautiful.
He approached with a paring knife, its edge honed to perfection.
Blood type A, right? They say it's the most flavorful.
He pressed the blade to my neck. A stinging slice. I screamed. He caught the blood, tasted it, then gagged, violently, his face contorted in horror. He stumbled to the sink and vomited, retching like a poisoned man. The knife clattered to the table. He was too busy heaving to notice that my eyes had locked onto the knife on the floor. My wrist twisted painfully toward it. Awkward, strained, the cold steel kissed the edge of the rope binding my wrist. I began to saw. Once. Twice. The blade bit into the coarse fiber and grazed my skin. Pain flared hot and raw, but I didn't stop. Mark groaned again, spitting bile into the sink, muttering something about preparation and balance of flavor. The rope snapped with a frayed gasp. I yanked my wrist free, the skin beneath it raw and bleeding, my pulse pounding in my ears like war drums. I moved quickly to my ankles. The knots were tight, stubborn, soaked with my own sweat. My fingers slipped once, twice, but I didn't stop. I clawed and sawed and twisted until at last, the final rope loosened and I kicked free. He turned.
No, not yet.
I snatched the knife, stumbled to my feet and lunged, not at him, but at the sleek wall oven beside me. The blade drove deep. Glass shattered. Gas hissed like a snake let loose. Flames erupted in an instant, racing across the countertop. He screamed, not for me, but for the oven.
No! That's a $6,000 Viking!
I toppled a prep table into his path, the clang loud as a gunshot, then sprinted into the smoke-choked hallway without looking back. I grabbed my phone from a table near the entryway. 1% battery. 911, please help. But Mark's voice echoed from behind.
You can't leave. You're not done yet.
I bolted for the front door, flung it open, only to find the outer gate locked. No keypad, no handle. I darted into the bushes, phone in hand. I crouched, heart in my mouth. Tinder notifications pinged in quick succession.
You can't escape me! I told you, this is my first time.
I muted my phone, uninstalled the app, but another message arrived through Premium Override.
I fixed the oven. Sorry for being clumsy. Let's finish what we started. The first time is always messy.
A sound, footsteps, buzz of electricity, then a voice inches from the brush.
And honey, I brought a cleaner blade this time.
The free ticket landed in my hand unexpectedly. the great Magnus, the man whose name alone could send chills down anyone's spine, was in town. People clamored to witness his famous act, pulling their deepest fears from a seemingly ordinary top hat. I wasn't his target audience. Magic was nothing but clever tricks and theatrics. Still, the thought of seeing people squirm at their fears being exposed had a peculiar allure. The curiosity got the better of me. I went. The theatre was packed. The air buzzed with nervous excitement as Magnus took the stage. Dressed in a sharp black suit with a red-lined cape, he exuded charisma and menace in equal parts. His cold red eyes swept the crowd, making everyone shift uneasily in their seats.
Tonight we dive into the depths of fear. But fear not, for it's all in good fun.
The audience chuckled nervously. Then his eyes locked onto mine.
You, sir,
Magnus said, pointing at me. The spotlight followed. I froze.
You've been chosen,
he announced.
Come, join me on stage.
The audience erupted in applause. I hesitated, but eventually made my way up, heart pounding. Magnus extended a hand.
Your name?
Harry, I mumbled, shaking his hand.
Let's uncover what lurks in the shadows of Harry's mind.
He pulled out a ceramic bowl, and the audience leaned in. Inside, a mass of writhing, glistening insects crawled over one another, their tiny legs scratching against the ceramic with a nauseating scritch, scritch. My stomach turned. I recoiled as the memories came flooding back. Back in school, the bullies, Draco and his gang, loved to make my life hell. One day, they pinned me to the ground and shoved my face into a bowl teeming with bugs. Ants, roaches, and beetles swarmed over my face, crawling into my nose. The sharp pinch of ants biting into my cheek sent stinging jolts through my nerves. A beetle's rough shell scraped against my lips. Then, the worst, something wriggled at the corner of my mouth. Before I could close it, a cockroach forced its way inside, its spindly legs thrashing against my tongue. I gagged, but my screams were smothered by the mass of crawling creatures. I had screamed, but they only laughed. When they finally let me go, my skin was covered in angry red welts. The itching persisted for weeks. The scars, they never faded. On stage, the bowl in Magnus's hand seemed to buzz with life. I backed away, my breathing quick and shallow.
Fascinating,
Magnus mused.
But let's dig deeper.
He reached into the hat again. This time he pulled out a carton of milk, battered and bloated, its expiration date long past. A sour stench wafted through the air, curling in my nostrils like a toxic fog. My gag reflex kicked in instantly, my stomach twisting. The audience murmured, puzzled. To them, it was just spoiled milk. They might think that, what's so scary about expired milk? But to me, it was a portal to a darker memory. Draco's gang didn't stop at bugs. One time, during lunch, they ambushed me in the cafeteria, armed with cartons of milk, the expired kind, sour and putrid. They drenched me from head to toe. The rancid liquid clung to my skin, soaked my clothes and dripped down my face in thick, yellowish streaks.
Drink up, Harry.
They jeered, shoving more cartons at me. They forced my mouth open, pouring the curdled, chunky liquid down my throat. The taste was unbearable, acidic and rotten. My throat burned, my stomach churned, and bile rose up. I I barely made it to the bathroom before I vomited, my body convulsing as if trying to purge the memory itself. On stage, the scent seemed to cling to me again, as real as it had been years ago. My skin crawled, my throat tightened, and nausea clawed its way up my chest. Magnus's voice cut through my spiraling dread.
Everyone stay calm.
He said with a wicked smile.
The most interesting part is yet to come.
For his final act, Magnus reached into the hat with an exaggerated flourish. His hand emerged holding a battered suitcase. The audience gasped in surprise, but I couldn't move. I recognized it immediately. The scuffs, the torn corner. It was that suitcase. Draco's ultimate prank was stuffing my best friend Ron into a suitcase. They thought it was hilarious, dumping him deep in the woods, telling him to find his way back. Ron never did. Now, standing on stage, I was frozen as violent thuds came from inside the suitcase. The sound echoed in my ears, dredging up every ounce of guilt I'd buried. Magnus slowly unclasped the suitcase, and the lid creaked open. From its depths, a pale, dirt-streaked hand shot out.
Help me!
A voice croaked, low and guttural. It was Ron. I stumbled back, but the hand reached further, grabbing my shirt. The audience gasped, but they thought it was all part of the act.
You left me.
Ron growled, pulling himself halfway out of the suitcase. His face was gaunt, eyes sunken, lips cracked.
You could have stopped them, but you didn't. You let them do this to me.
I tried, I stammered.
Liar!
He spat, his grip tightening. Ron's other hand emerged, grabbing the carton of spoiled milk from the table. He poured its rancid contents into the insect bowl, creating a foul, sloshing mess.
You remember this, don't you?
He hissed, his voice sharp and venomous.
If you hadn't hidden behind them, if you just stood up for me, none of this would have happened.
The smell overwhelmed me. The squirming insects and putrid milk engulfed my face, suffocating me. I struggled, my screams muffled by the grotesque mixture. With one last pull, Ron yanked me into the suitcase. The lid slammed shut, trapping me in darkness.
And now, who's next?
They say the world was once ruled by fear, not joy. Before Christmas became a time of celebration, it was a season of terror. Winter nights were longer, colder, and filled with the dread of monstrous creatures. Bipedal reindeer, with fur as black as the void, twisted antlers like thorns of hell, and eyes glowing red as embers. These were no ordinary reindeer. They didn't pull sleighs, they rode them, and their sleds weren't loaded with gifts of cheer, but with the tormented souls of the damned, cursed to drag the reindeer through the skies, screaming into the frigid night. Every year, at the end of winter, the air would fill with the haunting sound of bells, signaling the arrival of their terrible gifts, not toys or candy, but death, fear, and despair. The village was gripped by unspeakable dread. Cursed presence appeared everywhere. There was the wooden mask, carved with an eerie precision, which once worn fused to its victim's face, trapping them forever behind its hollow stare. Another was the ominous countdown clock, its hands ticking backward. It would drain the very life from whoever held it, leaving only an empty shell behind. Each year, these cursed artifacts would appear on doorsteps, bringing ruin to all who touched them. No one escaped their fate. That fateful night, my mother and I huddled together in our small wooden cabin, every light extinguished. The darkness felt like a blanket of safety, but we knew better. The reindeer didn't need light to find us. They could smell fear. And in our home, fear was thick. The bells came first, their chime low and ominous, cutting through the howling wind. Then the front door burst open, laughter followed, a high-pitched, maniacal sound that made my skin crawl. A small, tattered box waited on the doorstep, as if it had always been there. Its faded tag bore the words, "The sinner Evelyn," my mother's name. I begged her not to touch it, but her hands shook as she reached for it, as if she were hypnotized. Inside was a threadbare doll. Its eyes, dull at first, flared a hellish red as its stitched mouth curled into a sinister grin. My mother's body seized violently. She fell, writhing on the floor, frothy foam bubbling from her lips as she mumbled in an unearthly tongue. Her only sin was raising me alone. Yet for that, she was condemned to a fate worse than death. Before I could scream, they came. The monstrous reindeer seized her, dragging her to their sleigh. She became another cursed soul bound to their infernal sleigh, leaving me alone with the cold and the fear. Desperate and enraged, I grabbed the nearest thing, pine cones scattered near the hearth, and hurled them at the creatures. To my shock, the reindeer shrieked, their movements becoming erratic. They scratched at their fur as if trying to rid themselves of some unseen torment. One by one, they stumbled and retreated into the night, their howls of pain echoing through the frozen air. It wasn't until later that I realized what had happened. Pine. These monsters were allergic to it. The scent, the texture, it weakened them. And so, I began to prepare. For an entire year, I worked tirelessly. My family had always been woodworkers, and I knew the forest well. I harvested pine, crafting weapons and traps. I forged a plan, waiting for the next winter, the next chance to avenge my mother and end the reign of these beasts. When the time came, I stood at the edge of the pine forest, wooden sword in hand and a sack full of pine cones slung over my shoulder. I called out to them, taunting them, daring them to face me. They came, as I knew they would. The bells tolled, the sky darkened, and the ground shook beneath their heavy steps. The lead reindeer, its antlers larger and more twisted than the rest, bared its jagged teeth and charged. I ran, leading them deep into the forest where the air was thick with the scent of pine. I ducked behind a large tree, holding my breath as the creatures slowed, their heads swinging wildly, unable to find me. From the shadows, I struck. With a single thrust of my wooden sword, I jabbed it straight into the mouth of the lead reindeer. Its body collapsed, its death cry piercing the night. The others hesitated, disoriented and vulnerable. I hurled pine cones at them, watching as they thrashed and stumbled, their strength waning. One by one, they fell. When the dawn broke, I emerged from the forest victorious. I had captured the surviving reindeer, binding them with ropes infused with pine resin. They would no longer bring death and despair to my village. Instead, I repurposed their sleigh. I filled it with gifts, dolls, sweets, and books I had crafted over the year, and rode through the village, delivering them to the homes of those who had lived righteously. I urged the people to embrace kindness and generosity, for these virtues were invisible to the reindeer. And so, Christmas was born, not as a time of fear, but of joy and giving. Each year I return with my sleigh, pulled by the subdued reindeer, their savage instincts kept in check by the scent of pine that lingers on my sleigh's reins. But I remind everyone, the reindeer are still out there, lurking, waiting for the chance to escape. And so we light our homes with warmth and kindness, and we hang pine wreaths on our doors to keep the darkness at bay. This is the tale of how I, once a terrified boy named Nick, became a legend. I can't remember how many times I've had this dream, but the fear and helplessness still make my heart ache. That's right, I'm terrified, absolutely haunted by spiders. As a child, I lived on my dad's insect farm, surrounded by spiders. The fear nearly gave me a fatal heart attack, leading my parents to divorce. Now, I live with my mum. My graduation is soon, but Dad didn't reply to my invitation. His last email, 2 weeks ago, proudly announced his success with mutant spider research. I have a bad feeling something went wrong with my dad's research. I've decided to go to his farm and make sure he's safe. It's been almost 10 years since I last set foot in this house. The house was pitch dark, damp, and eerily silent, with only my voice echoing as I cautiously called out, "Dad!" There was just one place left to check. Taking a deep breath, I tried to suppress my fear and turned the doorknob. Suddenly, a swarm of black spiders scurried out from behind the door. My body froze, trembling as I collapsed to the floor. At that moment, someone stepped out of the basement. It was my dad, George, the biologist, silently blowing a strange flute that sent the spiders retreating into the basement. Dad helped me up, his frail hand pale with black veins and dark, sharp hairs like a spider's bristles. Something was definitely wrong with him.
Why are you here, Jax?
I handed him the invitation card. He took it without a word, his cold demeanor cutting deep. Then I noticed something stuck on his eye. Instinctively, I reached out to remove it. It was a strand of spider silk, not something accidentally caught in his eye, but something coming from inside it. Dad jerked back, clearly annoyed by my actions, and rubbed his eye. The strand of silk disappeared without a trace. "Dad, my car broke down. Can I stay here for the night?"
Fine. But stay in your room, don't wander around.
Seeing Dad's odd behavior, I knew something was wrong, likely because of the spiders. I made an excuse to stay and find out. As a meticulous researcher, I figured Dad would have recorded his entire experiment. I was right. Taking a deep breath, I opened the first folder. Skipping the confusing reports, I clicked on the first video, and it terrified me. The clip showed a female spider carrying an enormous egg sac. The spider screamed in pain, like a woman about to give birth. But spiders lay eggs, don't they? My suspicions were quickly confirmed. I watched as a massive baby spider broke out of the egg, dragging its mother's insides with it. The hungry spider rushed to its first meal, while the mother lay weak, helpless, and still as her young devoured her. It was so cold-blooded, so cruel. It was more disgusting than any spider or monster I had ever imagined. It took me a moment to regain my composure. I opened the final video, but what I saw was even worse. I was sure this spider was no longer a normal creature. Thinking about how this mutated spider had been born, I feared for my dad. What would happen when those eggs hatched? Suddenly, my dad appeared in front of me, his face furious.
Jax! What are you doing here?
I forced down my fear and rushed to tear off his shirt, hoping what I had seen was just a scene from a sci-fi movie. But I was wrong. These spiders were more dangerous than I had imagined. Each egg was stuck to my dad's skin, with a tiny tentacle piercing his spine. They were living and growing off his spinal fluid. The fear in my chest grew stronger, and I felt dizzy, my hands and legs trembling uncontrollably. Looking up at my dad, I noticed his eyes were slowly turning into those of a spider. I heard him gasp and scream at me.
Run! Get out of here!
He still had his mind. He still cared for me. I had to save him, telling myself that. I grabbed a ruler from the desk and rushed toward him. I shoved him to the ground, using all my strength to crush the eggs on his back. One by one, they cracked open and the baby spiders fell, filling the air with the scent of blood and a foul odor. Suddenly, my dad erupted with strength. He shoved me off, screaming,
Don't hurt my children!
"You've lost it, Dad! I'm your son! I'll save you from these monsters!" I yelled, only to realize, in shock, that the man in front of me was no longer the dad I knew. He had fully transformed into a monster. He shielded the baby spiders like a true mother spider, glaring at me as though I were an enemy trying to harm his offspring. The look in his eyes caused me pain and despair. What could I do to save him? But it was too late. The monster, now enormous and with all the terrifying traits of a spider, stood before me. My body froze, even breathing felt difficult, and my heart began to ache again. My dad's agonizing scream jolted me back. I turned to see the newborn spiders, driven by instinct, making him their first meal. Survival instinct drove me to run. I tried to drag my dad with me, but it was already too late. I'm a microbiologist. My specialty? Fungal and viral mutations. If it's gross, dangerous, or involves things sprouting out of places they shouldn't, I'm your guy. It's a dream job. If your dreams include endless pressure, angry bosses, and occasionally dodging test subjects that want to eat your face. Most days, I wanted to curl into a ball and scream, but instead I trudged on, wearing my lab coat like a cape of martyrdom. Then one day, I thought, what if I didn't have to? The idea hit me like a runaway pipette. What if I turned myself into one of those creatures? Temporarily, of course. I'd be too sick to work, collect my occupational hazard insurance, and finally relax. Bonus: nobody could yell at a guy with mutant claws. Thus began the project. I concocted a gas designed to mutate human bodies for 3 days. The fungal compound would dissolve and reconfigure tissue, creating temporary, horrifying mutations before self-destructing. Side effects included mild swelling and a rash, basically the flu with an extra dose of nightmare fuel. Perfect for taking a break without worrying about anyone dying. Step 1. Test it on myself, because that's always the best idea, right? I dipped my finger into the glass jar containing the gas. At first, nothing happened. Then, everything happened. The skin on my finger turned black, sprouting tiny fungal threads that twisted and curled like they had a vendetta. My veins popped like black lightning bolts, and my hand ballooned into a grotesque claw. pain was intense. But an hour later, it was over. My hand was back to normal, save for some itchy redness. I even high-fived myself with my non-mutated hand for pulling it off. The plan was working. By lunchtime, everything was ready. I figured I'd reward myself with a nice last meal before my vacation. A bowl of pho never tasted so good. When I got back, though, something was wrong. The capsule was locked. Inside was Min, my overly curious colleague, slumped over like he'd just taken a really bad nap. My stomach dropped faster than my high school GPA. The idiot must have activated the gas while snooping around. "Min!" I shouted, banging on the glass. No response. And then he moved. His body spasmed as fungal veins crept across his skin. His limbs contorted, his jaw unhinged, and his head grew. A massive, mushroom-like structure burst from his skull, spraying spores across the pod. Min, buddy, you okay?" He roared. The pod door hissed open and Min stepped out, or what was left of him. His claws scraped the floor as he lumbered forward, a terrifying mix of rage and confusion. "Okay, let's not do anything rash," I stammered, backing away. He didn't listen. One swipe of his oversized arm sent my lab bench flying. I dodged and bolted for the control panel, slamming the emergency lockdown button. The lab door sealed shut with a satisfying clang. No way was I letting the boss find out. If this got out, I'd be buried in work, overtime, and pay cuts. This mess was mine to fix. Unfortunately, Min wasn't a fan of locked doors. He pounded on the reinforced glass, cracks spiderwebbing with each hit. I needed a plan. Fast. Grabbing a fire extinguisher, I crept toward him. The second he broke through, I let loose a blizzard of foam, momentarily blinding him. He howled, swiping wildly, but I managed to activate the decontamination system. Gas filled the room, designed to neutralize pathogens and hopefully raging mushroom men. For a moment, it worked. Min staggered, coughing and wheezing. I started to breathe again. But then he adapted, because of course he did. Great. Desperation hit. My eyes darted to the capsule, the one thing that could even the odds. If I mutated myself, I might stand a chance. I sprinted for it, sliding into the pod like an action hero. But when I hit the activation button, nothing happened. Sparks flew from the control panel. Min's earlier rampage had severed the power supply. Of course! Why not? I slumped in the pod, exhausted. Min stalked closer, his heavy breaths filling the room. I closed my eyes, ready to accept my fate. But then, salvation arrived. The lab door burst open, and a team of security guards stormed in. They shot Min with tranquilizer darts and hit him with electrified nets. He thrashed and roared. But eventually, the beast went down. As the guards dragged Min away, my boss showed up, hitting me with their signature line.
Care to explain what the hell just happened here?
I gave a weak thumbs up. Science experiment? You'd think my problems ended there, but no. First, I was stuck writing a mountain of incident reports. Then, I was ordered to develop a cure for Min while taking over his workload. After a week of sleepless nights and more caffeine than any human should consume, I finally cracked it. Min was cured, though he wasn't thrilled about the whole mutant mushroom thing. Fair. As for me, I learned an important lesson. Sometimes taking a break is better than accidentally turning your coworker into a murder machine. But hey, at least I didn't have to dodge test subjects this week. Small victories.